My wife started coming home late. Hey Reddit. I honestly never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am, sitting in my car outside a gas station at 1 a.m., wondering what the hell just happened to my life. My name's Jake, I'm 34, and I've been married to my wife, Melissa, 31, for almost 7 years. We've had a pretty normal relationship, or at least I thought we did. We met in college, dated for a few years, got married, bought a house in the suburbs, the whole American dream package. She works in marketing, I'm in IT. No kids yet, something she's been not ready for the past couple of years. The first signs were small. You always hear people say that, right? Looking back, the signs were there. But when you're in love, your brain just refuses to put the pieces together. She started coming home later from work. At first it was just an hour or so. She said they were having new clients and late meetings. Okay, fair. I didn't question it. She's ambitious, and I've always respected that. Then came the gym sessions. She suddenly got really into fitness. Melissa has never been the gym type, not that she was out of shape or anything, but it just wasn't her. Now she's going 4 times a week, always after work, sometimes not getting home until 9 p.m. And when she gets home, she's oddly full of energy, yet emotionally distant. One night, I noticed she changed her phone password. That's when the itch started. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid, insecure husband who snoops. But something felt off. I asked her about it, trying to keep it light. Hey, why'd you change your phone password? She laughed, too quickly. Oh, just security stuff from work. They made us update everything. Sounded legit. But something in her tone made me pause. She also started dressing differently. Suddenly she's buying lacy bras, tight dresses, perfume that smells like she's trying to impress someone. And it's not me, because we barely have sex anymore. She's always tired, or in her head, or says she's bloated. Always an excuse. And then last Tuesday, it happened. The moment that shattered everything. But I'll get to that in the next part. Right now, I just need to breathe and figure out what the hell to do with all this. The Uber receipt that changed everything. I wasn't looking to play detective. I didn't want to be that guy. But life has a way of slapping you in the face whether you ask for it or not. So last Tuesday, I came home early from work. We had a server outage, and I finished up remotely from home. Melissa didn't know I'd be there. She assumed I'd be at the office until 6, like usual. Around 4:45 p.m., I heard her phone ding. It was lying on the kitchen counter. Normally, it's glued to her hand. I wasn't trying to snoop, but the screen lit up with a notification I couldn't ignore. Your Uber trip with Travis has been completed. Fare, $23.67. Uber? Travis? At 4:30 p.m.? She was supposed to be at the gym. I opened the app, it wasn't locked, surprisingly, and sure enough, there was a ride history. The trip started near her office and ended at a residential address. I copied the address into Google Maps. It was in a neighborhood across town, nothing near her gym. Just houses. I sat there staring at the screen, my stomach flipping. That gut feeling, the one I had been pushing down for weeks, started screaming. When she got home around 7:30 p.m., in leggings and a fresh blowout like she'd just been working out, I was sitting on the couch with her phone in my hand. She froze when she saw me. Hey! You're home early, she said, way too casual. Yeah, I replied. Got lucky today. I handed her the phone. So, who's Travis? Her eyes darted from the phone to me. Just for a second. But I caught it. Oh, she laughed nervously, that was just a co-worker. He gave me a ride to a client meeting, but my phone was logged into Uber, so it charged me. Now I might be dumb, but I'm not stupid. Funny. That client meeting must have taken place in a residential neighborhood, I said, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was racing. She immediately got defensive. Are you stalking me now? That's creepy, Jake. Seriously. The gaslighting started immediately. Somehow, me noticing an Uber receipt made me the bad guy. She accused me of violating her privacy, being controlling, jealous, and not trusting her. I didn't even get angry. I just stared at her. Tell me the truth, Melissa. Are you seeing someone? She rolled her eyes and muttered, "This is so ridiculous," before walking off to the bedroom and slamming the door. I sat there for 2 hours. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. And that's when I knew, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't insecure. I was right. Something was happening. And now, I needed proof. I followed her. I didn't sleep that night. Melissa stayed in the bedroom, scrolling on her phone, not saying a word to me. No apology. No explanation. Just that smug, passive-aggressive silence she always used when she knew she was guilty but wouldn't admit it. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, mind racing. I wasn't even angry, I was numb. Betrayal isn't loud. It's quiet. It creeps in and sits on your chest while you try to make sense of a world that suddenly doesn't. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said, grabbing a granola bar. "I've got a long day. Don't wait up." And just like that, she kissed me on the cheek and left. I watched her walk out the door and something inside me snapped. I couldn't keep pretending. I had to know. So I made a decision. I called out sick from work, grabbed my keys, and waited. At 5 p.m., I drove to her office and parked a block away. She came out around 5:40, looking radiant. Hair freshly styled, makeup perfect, short skirt, heels, not what you wear after a long day of marketing calls. She wasn't heading to the gym. I followed her discreetly, staying a couple of cars back. My palms were sweaty, my stomach in knots. I hated what I was doing, but I hated not knowing even more. She drove across town and pulled into a small cul-de-sac. A man was already standing outside. Tall, maybe mid-30s, beard, athletic build. She got out of the car smiling like a damn teenager. They hugged, too long. Then she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a "hey, good to see you" kiss. A slow, deep, familiar kiss. The kind I hadn't gotten from her in over a year. I felt like the world stopped. I was watching my wife kiss another man while I sat in a borrowed car like some private investigator in a bad movie. My hands were trembling. I wanted to scream, to charge out and punch him, to drag her back home and demand the truth. But instead, I just sat there, frozen, watching. After a few minutes, they went inside. She didn't even look back. I drove away. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just drove around and around the city for hours. The woman I married, the woman I gave everything to, was in another man's bed, and I knew in that moment, my marriage was over. I just didn't know what to do next. I waited for her to come home. That night, I didn't go home. I couldn't. I drove to a 24-hour diner and sat in the back booth, drinking coffee I didn't taste, staring out the window like a zombie. My phone buzzed twice, once from my mom and once from work, but not a single text from Melissa. She was still with him. I sat there until around 1 a.m. Then, for some reason, I drove home. Her car was already in the driveway. I walked into the house as quietly as I could. Everything was dark, except for the faint glow from under the bedroom door. She was in there, probably pretending to sleep, probably still smelling like him. I took off my shoes, went to the guest room, and sat on the edge of the bed. That's when it hit me. I needed to talk to her. No more pretending. No more vague answers. No more letting her manipulate the narrative. I opened the bedroom door. She was in bed, scrolling TikTok. She looked up. "Jesus, Jake, you scared me. Where have you been?" Her tone wasn't worried. It was annoyed. "I could ask you the same thing," I said, stepping in. "How was your gym session tonight?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, are you still on this?" I didn't say anything. Just looked at her. She scoffed. "Look, I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this jealous energy? It's not a good look." "Melissa," I said, voice low. "I followed you tonight." She froze. Just for a second. Her hand paused mid-scroll, and I saw her throat tighten. Then she laughed. "Are you serious? You're stalking me now? You went to some guy's house. I saw you kiss him." She sat up. "Wow. Okay, first of all, that's not what it looked like." I laughed bitterly. "It looked like you were sleeping with someone else." She didn't deny it. Instead, she threw back the covers and stood up. "I'm not having this conversation while you're acting like a psycho," she snapped. "You're paranoid, controlling, and frankly, it's exhausting." "You've been lying to me for months," I said. "Gaslighting me. Making me think I'm crazy. Meanwhile, you're screwing some dude behind my back?" She folded her arms. "You're not perfect either, Jake. You've been emotionally distant for years. You never make me feel wanted anymore. And there it was. The classic deflection. Somehow, my lack of attention justified her cheating. I stared at her. If you were unhappy, you should have told me. Not replaced me. She didn't reply. Just stood there, breathing heavily, eyes flicking away from mine. You've already made your choice, Melissa, I said finally. You just didn't have the guts to admit it. And I walked out. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning an exit. The next morning, I woke up on the couch again. My back was killing me, but I didn't care. I didn't even care that Melissa hadn't come out of the bedroom all night. There was a time I would have begged her to talk. To fix things. To explain. But something inside me had cracked. I was done begging. I didn't say a word to her as I got dressed for work. She didn't say a word to me either. On my lunch break, I sat in my car and opened my laptop. Something had been gnawing at me since our fight. Something she said. You're emotionally distant. You don't make me feel wanted. It wasn't just deflection. It felt rehearsed. Like a speech. Like she had been preparing it. And that's when it hit me. She was building a narrative. I logged into our joint bank account. We both had access, but I hadn't checked it in weeks. And right there, clear as day, I saw 3 separate $500 transfers to her personal checking account. All within the past 2 months. We had always kept most of our money together. Big bills, savings, the mortgage, everything came from the joint account. So why was she quietly moving money out? My hands were shaking as I logged into our shared cloud drive. Melissa and I used it mostly for vacation photos, tax documents, and boring adult stuff. But I found a new folder buried under miscellaneous. It was labeled house stuff. Inside were PDFs of apartment listings, lease agreements, a document titled Steps to Separate Finances. Another one, checklist for moving out. She'd been planning to leave me. Behind my back. While sleeping next to me every night. I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just cheating. This wasn't some one-time mistake or midlife crisis. This was deliberate. Coordinated. I was nothing more than a stepping stone. A placeholder. Something she was preparing to discard once she'd secured her upgrade. The man she was seeing. He wasn't just a fling. He was the replacement. I went home that evening in a fog. Melissa was already there, cooking like nothing was wrong. Hey, she said cheerfully. I thought I'd make pasta tonight. I stood in the doorway staring at her. My wife. Smiling at me like she wasn't slowly dismantling our life piece by piece. I didn't say a word. I just turned, walked out the door, and drove. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war. I made a copy of everything. Something changed in me that night. I wasn't going to be the clueless husband anymore. The fool in the background of someone else's story. If Melissa wanted to treat me like a stepping stone, fine. But I'd be damned if I let her walk away clean. I parked 2 blocks from the house and just sat there, thinking. My brain was racing, but for the first time in days, it wasn't racing with panic. It was cold. Clear. Step 1, gather evidence. Step 2, protect myself. Step 3, hit her where it hurts. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I got into her laptop. Yes, I know. Invasion of privacy. But after everything I'd discovered, I didn't give a damn. I wasn't doing this for revenge, I was doing it to protect myself. Emotionally. Financially. Legally. I plugged in a flash drive and copied everything. The folder with apartment listings. The checklist labeled Steps to Separate Finances. Screenshots of her bank transfers from our joint account. Even a draft email to someone named Travis with the subject line, about moving in. It was all there. In black and white. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a future without me while still using me to pay for the present. I backed up everything, encrypted it, and emailed a copy to myself using a new private account. Then I did something I never thought I'd do, I called a divorce lawyer. I didn't file anything yet, I just explained the situation. The financial concerns. The affair. The gaslighting. The emotional damage. The lawyer, a woman named Grace, listened carefully and said 7 words I'll never forget. You're not crazy. She's setting you up. She explained how people like Melissa work. They start the story early. They plant seeds. He was cold. He didn't listen. I felt so alone. They start acting like victims long before they leave, so when they do, everyone sides with them. But not this time. Grace told me to keep everything calm on the surface. Don't accuse her again. Don't threaten. Don't let her know I knew. Just gather. Document. Prepare. And when I was ready, we'd make the first move. I hung up the phone feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. When I got home that night, Melissa was already on the couch watching TV like nothing was wrong. She looked up and smiled. "Hey babe. Long day?" I smiled back and kissed her on the forehead. "Yeah. Long day." She had no idea. I became the husband she pretended I was. For the next week, I played the game. I was the perfect husband. I brought home flowers for no reason. Made dinner. Cleaned the kitchen. Asked about her day. Acted like I was trying to fix things, like I believed her pathetic lie about the Uber ride and the co-worker. Melissa ate it up. She started acting sweeter too, almost unnervingly so. Like she was trying to keep me stable just long enough to execute whatever plan she thought I hadn't noticed. The irony was almost laughable. While she was pretending to forgive me for being paranoid, I was sitting on a treasure trove of evidence that would wreck her clean little getaway. But I kept the mask on. Every night, I smiled. Every morning, I kissed her goodbye. And every time I saw a notification pop up on her phone from Travis, I took a screenshot. I even synced her iCloud to my burner email. She had no idea. I watched every message come through in real time. The flirting. The plans. The photos. God, the photos. Let's just say she wasn't shy. I saw parts of her I hadn't seen in a year, and she was sending them to him like it was nothing. My wife. Naked. On my couch. In my shirt. With his name typed under the image in little pink hearts. That one almost made me throw up. But I held it in. Because I wasn't just collecting receipts, I was documenting a story. A timeline. A character study of betrayal. Then something interesting happened. One night, she got drunk. She came home buzzed after girls' night and started giggling and leaning on me like she was 20 again. And then, right in the middle of laughing about some fake story she was telling, she looked at me and slurred. "You're finally trying again. It's nice." I didn't reply. Just looked at her and smiled. She leaned in close and whispered, "I almost forgot what this felt like." And that's when I knew. She was enjoying this. The thrill of lying. The thrill of having two lives. She was living in a fantasy of her own creation. Playing house with me, while playing out a romance novel with him. It wasn't love. It wasn't even lust. It was ego. She didn't love Travis. She loved herself in the mirror of his attention. She loved feeling wanted, desired, chased. Meanwhile, I was the safe zone. The place to hide her lies behind stability. But I wasn't safe anymore. I was a fuse, and she had no idea how close she was to lighting it. I finally met Travis. It wasn't planned. I didn't wake up that morning thinking today's the day I meet the guy sleeping with my wife. But fate doesn't give you a calendar invite when it's about to destroy your composure. It was Saturday. Melissa had told me she was going to brunch with the girls and then running errands. Translation: she was going to Travis. She left around 10:30, dressed too well for bottomless mimosas with her girlfriends. Tight jeans. Low-cut top. Heels. Perfume I hadn't smelled in months. I waited 15 minutes, then left the house and got in my car. I already knew where he lived. I had the address from the Uber receipt. I took the long route, parked around the corner, and waited. 30 minutes later, a black Jeep pulled into the driveway. Melissa stepped out. He stepped out. And I lost it. I didn't plan to confront him. Hell, I didn't even know what I was going to say. But before I could stop myself, I was out of the car and walking toward them like I was possessed. Melissa saw me first. Her smile dropped instantly. "Jake?" Travis looked confused. "Who's this?" She stammered. That's my husband." Travis blinked. "You're married?" And there it was. I almost laughed. He didn't even know. The poor bastard was a side character in a script he didn't realize was fiction. I turned to him. "She didn't tell you?" He shook his head, staring at her like she'd just morphed into a stranger. Melissa was in full panic mode now. "Jake, please, don't do this, can we just talk?" I ignored her. I looked Travis dead in the eyes and said, "You've been screwing my wife for months, man. Thought you should know." He stepped back. "Look, I didn't, Jesus, I didn't know she was married." "You do now," I said. And don't worry, I'm not here to fight. I just wanted to see the face of the guy she picked to lie to." He looked at Melissa. "You said you were separated." She didn't speak. She just stood there, trembling, lips parting and closing like she was trying to breathe underwater. "You lied to him, too?" I asked, turning to her. "How many lives are you juggling now?" And then I left. I didn't yell. I didn't punch anyone. I didn't cry. I just walked back to my car, got in, and drove away. But the silence in that driveway? It was louder than any explosion. The collapse begins. By the time I got home, my phone had 13 missed calls and 9 texts, from Melissa. "Jake, please answer. Can we talk, please? It's not what it looked like." I panicked. He didn't know, I swear. I didn't respond. I sat on the couch in complete silence. No music. No TV issue. Just me, the clock ticking on the wall, and the crushing realization that the woman I married was unraveling in real time. Around 4 p.m., the front door opened. Melissa stepped inside like she was walking into a crime scene. She looked like hell, mascara smudged, hair a mess, hands shaking. "Jake," she whispered. I said nothing. She knelt in front of me. Like actually dropped to her knees. "I messed up," she said. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Really?" I asked. "You just tripped and fell into another man's house." "Please," she begged. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been lying to both of us? That you were ready to walk away from our marriage like it was a lease renewal?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you." I stared at her. "You've been hurting me for months," I said. "You gaslit me. You made me feel crazy. You accused me of being distant while you were giving someone else the best parts of yourself." She broke. Started sobbing. I didn't even like him that much. It was just attention. I felt invisible. "Then you should have talked to me," I snapped. "You don't fix loneliness by creating chaos." She stood up and started pacing. "You don't understand what it's like to feel unwanted, like you're fading. He made me feel alive again." I scoffed. "Yeah, cheating tends to do that. Especially when no one knows yet." And then she said something that made my blood run cold. "I told my mom everything," she said quietly. "She's coming over tomorrow." I blinked. "What?" "She thinks we should try to work this out." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, so now it's a group project? After you emotionally nuked our marriage, you want to fix it with your mom's help?" "She thinks we can get through this," Melissa said, stepping closer. "Jake, I want to try." I looked her dead in the eyes. "I don't." Her face cracked. She wasn't used to hearing no. Melissa had always been the one with control. The final say. The upper hand. But not anymore. The collapse had begun. And I was letting it fall. Her mother showed up, and took her side. Sunday morning came like a storm cloud. I didn't sleep much. Neither did Melissa, judging by how quiet the bedroom was all night. I stayed on the couch, scrolling through the screenshots, rereading messages between her and Travis, not because I needed more proof, but because I needed the reminder. Every time I felt weak, those messages lit the fire again. At 11:06 a.m., the doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. Melissa practically ran to open it. "Mom," she said, like a frightened child. I stayed on the couch. Her mother walked in like she owned the house. Hair in a tight bun, beige coat, and that judgmental glare older women master after a lifetime of correcting everyone around them. "Jake," she said with a tight nod. "Margaret," I replied. "Welcome to the wreckage." Melissa gave her the rundown in the kitchen while I sipped coffee in the living room and listened. They weren't exactly whispering. "He's being cold, like emotionally cruel. I know I messed up, but he's acting like I'm a monster." Margaret stepped in after 5 minutes, arms crossed like she was preparing to teach me a lesson. "I understand there's been some tension between you two," she said calmly. I nearly spit out my coffee. "Tension?" I said. "You mean the part where your daughter has been cheating on me and secretly planning to leave, while draining our joint account? That tension?" She winced. "Melissa admitted she made a mistake, Jake. But that doesn't justify treating her like a criminal." I stood up, slowly. "Margaret, your daughter lied to my face for months. She manipulated me, made me question my sanity, and started building a life behind my back." "She's hurting," Margaret snapped. "So am I," I said flatly. There was silence. Melissa stepped into the room, eyes red. Can we please just talk this through? Maybe counseling? A reset? You didn't break a lamp, Melissa, I said. You broke me. And now you want therapy to polish the cracks so it doesn't look so bad on the outside. Her mother stepped between us. Jake, you're being dramatic. People make mistakes. I stepped forward, looked her right in the eyes. Your daughter didn't make a mistake. She made a plan. There's a difference. Melissa looked stunned. Margaret? Furious. But I didn't care. You came here to defend her, I said. You want to play damage control. But you're too late. The damage is done. I walked back to the couch, sat down, and added one last thing. I already spoke to a lawyer. The silence was glorious. Margaret blinked. You're divorcing her? I'm protecting myself. Something no one else in this room ever tried to do for me. Melissa started to cry again. But this time, I felt nothing. No guilt. No shame. Just calm. Her desperate move. After Margaret left, the house felt emptier than ever. Melissa barely spoke. It was like the fight had drained every ounce of fight out of her. Then, 2 days later, she dropped the bomb. She wanted a heart-to-heart. Just the two of us. No lawyers, no moms, no games. She said she'd been doing a lot of thinking and she wanted to try. Really try. Not just for appearances, but for us. For me. I listened. She cried, she begged, she admitted she'd made mistakes, big ones. She said she felt lost, lonely, and scared. I looked at her. The woman I thought I knew. The woman who had destroyed everything. I don't know if I can trust you, I said. Not yet. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I get that. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I wanted to believe her. I did. But trust isn't a switch you flip. It's a bridge you build, and she'd burned most of the planks. Still, for the first time in weeks, there was a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. But then she pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a plane ticket. To where? I asked. To visit Travis. Silence. I stared at her, trying to process the betrayal within the betrayal. I can't stop you, she said quietly. But I'm going to do this. I need to. The ground beneath me shifted. And I realized. This wasn't just a fight for our marriage anymore. It was a war for my sanity. The day I let her go. I don't remember sleeping that night. Or breathing. Or thinking clearly. I remember sitting in the dark with the envelope in my hand, just staring at her name on the boarding pass. Melissa Carter. One-way ticket. To the city where he lived. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. That was the part that crushed me, not the affair, not the lies, not even the gaslighting. It was the indifference. The realization that she didn't care how much this was breaking me. That she'd already decided I was part of her past, and she was ready to walk barefoot over the ashes without flinching. In the morning, she made coffee. Sat at the table like it was just another Wednesday. So, she said, not looking at me, I think I'll be gone for a few days. I'll check in with you, of course, and we can. No, I cut in. She blinked. No? You don't have to check in with me, I said calmly. Because once you step on that plane, you're not coming back. She set her mug down. Jake. You don't get to leave, sleep with him, then come back and pretend this house is still yours. You made your choice. Her eyes flickered. You're giving me ultimatums now? I'm giving you freedom, I said. The one you've been clawing at for months. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but stopped. Because deep down, I think she knew I was right. She walked out of the kitchen. Packed a small bag. Said nothing else. At 11:45 a.m., she walked past me at the door. No kiss. No tears. No apology. She just left. And I stood there, watching the woman I once loved fade out of my life like a ghost in daylight. When the Uber pulled away, I closed the door, turned off my phone, and sat down in the silence. I didn't cry. Not yet. That would come later, in waves. But for now? I just breathed. For the first time in months, I could actually breathe. Picking up the pieces. The first day without her was weirdly quiet. I kept expecting to hear the bathroom fan humming, or her god-awful morning playlist, or her laugh on a FaceTime call with someone I thought was just a friend. But the house was silent. Too silent. I tried to distract myself, took a long walk, made a real breakfast, even called my brother for the first time in weeks. But every time I sat still, the thoughts came rushing back. How long had she planned it? Was there ever a version of us she didn't lie through? Was I just easy to replace? By the third day, the anger came back. Not sharp like before, dull, simmering. The kind of anger that makes you stare at a wall for 10 minutes before realizing your jaw is clenched and your hands are shaking. I boxed up her things. Not in rage. Not violently. Just one item at a time. The hairbrush on the counter. Her dumb gold pineapple decoration. Her drawer full of leggings I'd always trip over. I left the photos. I wasn't ready for those yet. Then came the financial part, and that was the real slap. She'd pulled almost $2,800 out of our joint account the week before she left. I hadn't even noticed. I was so caught up in begging for scraps of truth, I didn't see her looting the exit. My lawyer called that day. "She hasn't filed anything," he said. "But given the circumstances, we need to move first. Protect your assets. Your name. Your future." It hit me then. This was real. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was a war for closure. That night, I sat with a whiskey glass in one hand and her wedding ring in the other. Just stared at it. All those vows. All that trust. Reduced to a cold piece of metal that no longer meant a damn thing. I didn't cry. I didn't smash it. I just put it in the envelope where her plane ticket had been. Same envelope. Same story. Gone. The woman at the dog park. It had been about 3 weeks since Melissa left. I was getting better at pretending things were okay. I even started sleeping again, not well, but enough. Then something strange happened. I took Murphy, our golden retriever, well, my dog now, to the park one morning. We were just doing our usual loop when this woman passed by us, jogging, headphones in, athletic, focused. Murphy, being Murphy, instantly took a liking to her. He broke into a sprint and ran straight to her like she was carrying steak in her sports bra. I called out, embarrassed, "He does this sometimes. Sorry." She took her earbuds out and smiled. "It's okay. He's cute." We started talking. Her name was Nina. Recently moved back to town. Had just finalized her divorce 6 months ago. No kids. 1 cat. Used to work in PR, now freelancing. There was something calm about her, like she'd already been through her own storm, and wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. We didn't flirt. Not at first. We just talked. For almost an hour, we walked around that park. I told her about Murphy. She told me about her ex-husband's professional soul-searching, which turned out to be code for a 25-year-old yoga instructor named Bianca. We laughed. It felt foreign, to laugh like that again. Before she left, she said, "You seem like someone who's trying." Trying? Yeah, she smiled. Like someone who hasn't given up yet. That's rare. I didn't get her number. I didn't ask. But I saw her again. 2 days later. Same time. Same loop. And this time, she said it, "If you're gonna keep showing up here, I should probably know your name." "Jake," I said. "Recently divorced. Recovering idiot." She laughed. We walked again. There was no rush. No fireworks. Just peace. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was the first time I felt like myself again. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't permanently broken. That night, I didn't check Melissa's socials. I didn't reread old texts. I didn't cry. Instead, I fell asleep thinking of the way Nina said, "It's okay," when Murphy ran up to her, like she meant it. And for the first time in months, I dreamed of something new. The man I became. It's been 6 months since Melissa left. Sometimes I still wake up expecting to hear her rummaging through the closet, cursing at her hair straightener, slamming drawers like they owed her money. But then I remember, she's gone. And strangely, I'm okay. Not amazing. Not some enlightened monk who's grateful for the pain. But okay in the way that matters. Steady. Nina and I kept running into each other, and eventually, I asked her out. It wasn't dramatic. No sparks flying or violins in the background. We grabbed coffee. Talked. Laughed. Went back to the dog park. She didn't fix me. That wasn't her job. But she reminded me what real connection feels like, the quiet kind that doesn't come with secrets or manipulation. One night, over dinner, she said, "You're different than when we met." "How?" "You stand taller now. Like you're not waiting for someone to tell you who you are." That hit me hard. Because for years, I was waiting. Waiting for Melissa to love me the way I loved her. Waiting for her to stop lying. Waiting for her to choose us. But I learned something through this whole mess. You don't wait for people to respect you. You teach them how to. By respecting yourself first. Melissa did me a favor. She broke the illusion. And in doing so, she set me free. Would I take her back if she showed up tomorrow with apologies and tears? Not a chance. Not because I hate her. I don't. But because I love me now. And that guy? He deserves better. So if you're reading this, and you're sitting in your car with shaking hands after seeing a text that shattered your heart, or you're lying awake next to someone who makes you feel small, or you're trying to fix something that only breaks you further, let me be the proof. You will survive. You'll rise. And one day, you'll thank yourself for walking away. White check mark emoji, if you felt this story. If you've ever been there, or you're there now, you're not alone. Subscribe for more stories like this. I've got a lot to say, and trust me, it only gets better from here.